Okay. For the sake of clarity, I'm actually going to say what the question is out loud. Basically, we are covering the Cassidy versus Smith-Kine-Beecham. The question is that Smith-Kine-Beecham developed a Lyme disease vaccine that after FDA approval, it became apparent that about 1/3 of the population would react poorly to the vaccine. Individuals with the HLS-DR plus genotype were susceptible to developing autoimmune arthritis in response to the vaccine. SKB did not warn patients of this complication in the label and was sued in a class action lawsuit by individuals who developed autoimmune arthritis in response to the vaccination. Due to negative publicity, sales of the vaccine plummeted and SKB had to pull the product from the market. Should this be put back on the market? Both of us are in agreement about the fact that if you're going to put it back in the market, no matter what, you are going to need to do restrictions. I'm going to be covering, though, the reasons why even then we should not put it back on the market immediately. So, to get back to the market, people would have to get tested to confirm whether they have the genotype that causes the negative effects. This could easily result in an influx of people getting tested for the genotype, which could limit the ability of people who need the results getting tested efficiently, such as organ donors and recipients who are getting tested to see if they are a match, or people who are getting tested for diagnosis of diseases related to the locus. Because yes, there are diseases related to the locus besides this issue, and they need to do this test before they can actually do donation of organs. There's also the issue of stumbling upon something the tester wasn't prepared to learn about, and determining if they should or shouldn't be told, since, like I said before, there are diseases related to the locus. In the case where testing can't be done due to location and economic status, um, if they still use this vaccine, the risk is still 33% if they go through. But there's also the question of what other risk factors the vaccine may have if they didn't catch the autoimmune arthritis issues that affected 33% of the population prior to it going to market. As is, I would say the vaccine shouldn't go to market. If the testing infrastructure is built prior to release and further testing is done to confirm there aren't any other surprises, then the vaccine could potentially be released to the market with the restriction that you need to be confirmed to not have the risk allele first.
Yeah, so I'm arguing that it should be put back on the market. Of course, like Elliot said before, there's no way it should go back on the market without certain limitations being put on it, such as people being tested before, like genetically tested for to see if they have that genotype that they get. What was it? Arthritis.
Yeah, it was the arthritis from like autoimmune issues.
Autoimmune arthritis, and uh, so, but the on the other side, 476,000 people a year in the U.S. alone are diagnosed with Lyme disease, and some studies indicate that this number could be even higher. And that's a huge amount of the population. And even if, you know, let's say even if half of those people had the genotype that they would get autoimmune arthritis, it, you know, I think it would be tough. It's tough to say that, even though we're safeguarding, that 30 to 50% of the population, there's still a huge chunk of the population that, is completely vulnerable to Lyme disease and that could get the treatment if it was there. And the other reason is that there's no other viable treatment at this point except for antibiotics, and everyone knows antibiotics suck. Um, you're required to go through like several rounds of antibiotics for Lyme disease, even if it's caught like pretty early. And the costs can continue to rise, especially if it's a strain that is antibacterial resistant, or if we catch it late, the bacteria, like the antibiotics that we have to use, are much stronger, which causes more stress on the person, and also they're a lot more expensive. And the other thing is that antibiotics, I think everyone has, over past years, everyone started to realize that you can't just use antibiotics for everything out there, that antibiotic resistant bacteria are on the rise, and we're in a sense losing the fight. And I think any chance that we get to limit the use of antibiotics has to be taken, so that we limit the strain, antibiotic resistant bacteria strains. And yeah, and there's no other vaccine option available out there. The only other one that's even remotely close is, I think it's a Pfizer vaccine that's in phase 2 or 3 of clinical trials. But that's still a long ways off. And this one, obviously, it does have a lot of problems. But the other thing is that compared to 1998, we know a lot more about genetics than we did back then. And I think we're much better prepared and much better, our resources and our safeguards are much better now than they were back then. And I think it obviously would have to be a very slow and methodical rollout. And obviously only those who would be genetically tested would be viable to even receive it. But I think it could be done in a safe and effective manner if done properly. But I do think that it would be overall beneficial for the vaccine to be rolled out again, just in a more controlled manner than it was in the first time. And then another thing is that genetic testing is a lot cheaper now, and it will continue to grow cheaper as the 21st century goes on. And this will lead to, obviously now it's tough, especially for people that aren't in the position right now to receive genetic tests. But I think in the future they'll become so abundant and widely available that almost anyone could receive it. But we're still a ways off from that. So I think that one day that could be a thing, but not quite yet. But I think overall that it does deserve to have like a second, more controlled rollout, however. Yeah. All right, thank you.